Folks, PSA, Forbes Magazine, 2014, great little simple article to read. PSA screening does more harm than good. Dr. Brawley says the harms of screening have been consistently demonstrated in all screening trials. Every single screening trial says men are harmed. Regardless of the evidence from one city, though, the evidence today is strong. They cite one single European study. One single one. But all the rest says harm. One said slight benefit. The evidence today is strong that until we have much better treatments for prostate cancer, routine screening with PSA tests causes more harm than good. Folks, that's enough. So it's a good statement, regardless of the evidence from one city, that though the evidence today is strong that until we have much better treatments for prostate cancer, routine screening for PSA tests causes more harm than good. That's a half-truth. In reality, they are saying that, hey, the PSA check does more harm than good, but what they should continue to say is it's because of the treatments that are very harmful and in fact deadly is why the check is harmful. The blood draw and the test really isn't harmful. It's what it drives you to do because your doctors don't share with you the truth. And the other half-truth in that statement is the fact that, guess what? That was done in 2014, that article. Well, again, going back to the Journal of Urology, intensive lifestyle changes may affect the progression of prostate cancer, a 2005 study. So at the time of that article, they had the better treatments. They just weren't willing to simply tell you it's a plant-based diet. Done. Done, over with. Don't need to say anything else. It's a plant-based diet. There was a few other lifestyle interventions that were adhered to or suggested by doctors. This was a randomized placebo-controlled trial. Randomized control. It wasn't really placebo. I apologize for that. I misspoke there. It wasn't placebo because how do you fake this stuff? Listen to this. The experimental group patients were prescribed an intensive. So the group that didn't get the treatment of a plant-based diet and these lifestyle interventions, they were told to change nothing. Don't change anything, just go about life as normal. You've chosen not to go through medical treatments, good for you. You're going to live longer than those who chose to go through medical treatments. Granted, I know that there's the 1%. I know that people are hating on me right now in these videos, and I'm going to get horrible comments on YouTube because everybody's going to be like, yeah, I know somebody whose life was extended. They had horrible cancer, and they had to cut it out. It was the size of a softball. They couldn't go to the bathroom. Yes, intervention for those individuals would be necessary. But if we would do a test, say your PSA has been continuously rising, you should do some intervention, you should change your life. That's like lighting the fire underneath somebody's rear end and saying, hey, something's got to change or you're headed down a path to disease and early death. So here's a plant-based diet. Here's chiropractic care. And folks, yes, chiropractic care will improve the quality of life and longevity. The odds of somebody living longer and beating cancer are improved with chiropractic care. Now, do I have a study that actually shows that 100%? No. But what I do have is studies that show that an increased heart rate variability or vagal tone, increased nervous system function is found in individuals under chiropractic care. That specific subluxation-based chiropractic care, not just general manipulation, but very specific neurologically based chiropractic care, improves heart rate variability scores. Why is that significant in prostate cancer? Because of the plethora. Just Google this for me. Prostate cancer and heart rate variability, or HRV for short, the abbreviation of heart rate variability. Heart rate variability, prostate cancer. Look at the studies. What do the studies show? It shows that an individual with lower heart rate variability, meaning less autonomic function capacity or dysregulation of their nervous system, or better regulation of the nervous system when your heart rate variability scores are higher. Lower heart rate variability scores, meaning you have more autonomic dysfunction, your autonomic nervous system is not functioning properly. that you have a greater likelihood of dying early with greater autonomic dysfunction, because your nervous system runs and regulates every single bodily function, every single detoxification, absorption of nutrients, digestion of foods, regulation of inflammation, regulation of cellular function and cellular communication is all under the control of your nervous system. So someone with a poorly functioning nervous system has a greater likelihood of dying early from anything and everything: cancer, heart disease, diabetes, everything, folks. Combine doing the right things for your autonomic nervous system, things that would improve heart rate variability. And it's not just chiropractic, but chiropractic is huge, because if you have degenerative disc disease in your lower back, if you have an atlas subluxation, the top bone in your spine, especially if you have dealing with prostate cancer, pelvic subluxations, you can cause a dysfunction in the parasympathetic nerve supply, as well as the sympathetic tone could go up, which can cause neurogenic inflammation, separating the body from being capable of activating and regulating the immune response and the inflammation in that region of your body. And through neurogenic inflammation, you have chronic damage to the cellular level, and thus chronic damage and inflammation can lead to DNA damage and eventually development of cancer. So removing pressure on a nerve is vital for the survival, long-term, and full restoration of somebody's health and well-being. You combine that component of chiropractic care, a properly aligned spine, with this study right here, what kind of benefits could we see with the population? I had a 20-some-year-old man unable to get an erection. This happens so often in my office. I'm not saying that men come in here and get erections while they're in my office. What I'm saying is I adjust their lower back and they're able to make love to their wives again, when before they wouldn't. They couldn't. Nerve pressure shuts down organs, sometimes rapidly, sometimes slowly. But subluxations, misalignments of the spine will do that. So I'm begging and pleading you, if you're anybody who wants to live as long and as healthy as they possibly can, get under somebody's quality chiropractic care. But combine that with this. Experimental group patients were prescribed an intensive lifestyle program that included a vegan diet, fruits and vegetables, supplemented with soy, 1 daily serving of tofu plus 58 grams of fortified soy protein, powdered beverage. Now, I do have to mention, and they were given a fish oil as well. Now, I'm seeing mixed information on the use of fish oil in prostate cancer. There's studies going both ways, some beneficial, some harmful, actually. They gave it here. So I would love to see a vegan-based omega-3 supplement given. And then the other factor that I would love to see changed is you have to take into account the research that shows, why do vegans get cancer? Why do vegans get cancer? If somebody's eating a plant-based diet, how could they get cancer? Well, guess what soy isolate protein can do? Even more than dairy, it increases what's called IGF, insulin growth factor. And what does insulin like growth factor do in our bodies? It rapidly accelerates cancer growth. So I would love to change this and say the protein sources are not going to come from isolate protein, but whole soy only, edamame, things like that, and non-GMO, because GMO soy has been linked to a huge increased risk of cancer. I would love to see natural non-GMO soy, if they're going to eat soy, not a fish oil supplement, but rather there's supplements online, and I probably need to get these. Maybe I'll put those recommendations underneath the video. But it comes from algae-based omega-3s. So where do fish, where do crawfish, crayfish, where we get our fish oils, where do they get their omega-3s? From the algae. So there's algae-derived, and it's typically less toxic too. I would love to see that used even in so I'm going off topic off of prostate cancer, but because of the audience that I oftentimes speak to, is love to see that type of thing being utilized in the children with developmental disabilities, things like that, autism and others. So they gave them a vitamin E supplementation. Again, a vitamin E by itself, I'm reading off the documentation, but I am critiquing it to what I feel would be more a superior regimen. I would rather see, because again, there is mixed evidence on vitamin E alone. A lot of single solitary supplements have mixed information on. Again, that's why I go back to, I believe so much in whole plant-based, whole foods, whole herbs, whole things. So, selenium, 200 micrograms per day. Vitamin C, 2 grams daily. Moderate aerobic exercise, walking 30 minutes, 6 days a week. Stress management techniques, gentle yoga-based stretching, breathing, meditation, imagery, and progressive relaxation for a total of 1 hour daily. And participation in a 1 hour support group once a week to enhance adherence to the intervention. That was their experimental group. That was the group getting the treatment. That is it. The other group was told to change nothing. They just knew they weren't going to go the medical route. What are the results? The results are serum from experimental group patients inhibited cell growth, cancer cell growth, in a petri dish 70%, whereas serum from the control group patients inhibited growth by only 9%. Mind you, what's really comical is people kind of like critiquing this study actually had the audacity to say, well, maybe that blood would have killed healthy cells too, in response to that. Yeah, that was actually some medical professionals, oncologists who were proponents of using radiation chemotherapy. They said, well, that doesn't mean anything. That blood could have killed healthy cells. Oh, really? The change in prostate cancer growth. Although it is true that chemotherapy and radiation may kill normal as well as cancerous cells. So remember that your normal and healthy cells will be killed or harmed by radiation or chemotherapy. We are not aware of any evidence that fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and soy products kill normal cells. Evidence suggests that these substances present in these foods, such as lycopene, flavonoids, sulforaphanes, omega-3 fatty acids, isoflavones, polyphenols, lignans, and other substances are protective of normal cells. But people against this study and critiquing it and saying that's a bogus study, I don't believe that nutrition could actually reverse prostate cancer, which again, the cancer specialist in my community says that nutrition has nothing to do. And I'm going to keep calling him out. I won't say his name, but the reality is there's not very many of them. But it's just ridiculous that they would even say that. It killed, the blood of these cancer patients killed cancer cells almost 8 times more. In addition, since there is a significant rate of recurrence following any conventional treatment for prostate cancer, I wanted to point that out specifically because they are saying that in addition, this treatment, this lifestyle intervention, since there is significant rate of reoccurrence following any conventional treatment for prostate cancer, surgery, radiation, chemo, significant reoccurrence rate. That is why it's vitally important for this type of information to get out to the people who've already, if they've undergone prostate cancer treatments medically, they need to know that information right there from that study so as to start the interventions that will actually extend their life, which still can, even though they may have succumbed to some of the side effects from the medical treatments. And then we've got to get it in the hands of more men out there so that they can realize that checking their PSA could have significant detrimental effects to their quality of life, their relationships with their wives, and many of their health aspects, if they don't know the truth, that there's something safer, so their test could be used. Whole point of this video, that PSA check could be used for good, but instead, like Dr. Brawley says, again, realizing I've been granted an audience with Lucifer, the devil. Sadly, the devil is using our medical physicians and oncologists in our country and across the globe. He's using them to harm men, and I guarantee, what is one of the best ways, think about this, folks, what is one of the best ways to cause somebody to question the existence of a God or a good God? You know what? It's simple. Allowing somebody or putting somebody, the devil's doing this, putting something, he rules this world down here. God created it, but the devil's playground is this world right here. Folks, get this. One of the easiest ways to make people question the existence of God, or even just turn their back on God and say, God, I hate you, how could you let this happen, is to watch their loved ones suffer, or themselves suffer to that extent. That devil is getting people to turn away from God by utilizing medical physicians. And I know it. It's probably pretty darn hard to swallow this pill right here, but it seems like it's pretty easy for you to prescribe a bunch of pills. But you better swallow this one right here. If you're a medical physician that hasn't been discussing that study that I just discussed with you right now on this video, if you have not been discussing that research study and the fact that the current standard medical treatments are not extending lives, then you are nothing more than a tool being used by the devil to make people question the existence of God. I know that may be hard, but that's the way I see it. Because it is evil, it is wrong to withhold something as simple and as good as that study right there. Utilizing a plant-based nutritional diet, doing things again, working on the nervous system to enhance heart rate variability, whether it be yoga, chiropractic care, exercise, stress relief, all those things, better nutrition, all these things improve the function of our nervous system. If we don't start doing the right things, if we are either knowingly or even if we're before this point unknowingly doing the standard medical treatments, pushing the standard medical treatments on your patients, now's the time to turn from that standard practice and start doing the right thing for your patients. I beg, I plead with you to start doing that. Folks, if you know somebody who's battling prostate cancer, I'm going to ask you to please, 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 if they've battled it in the past and now they're considered survivors, but the only thing they did was the standard medical treatment, now if they're on a complete plant-based diet or less than 5% animal-based proteins, then they're doing phenomenal in that regard. If they're in my area, let's make sure that they have their spine checked, evaluated for nerve interference. Because again, animal studies have proven that you separate the nerve supply to a region of the body, and that region of the body becomes susceptible to tumorous and cancerous growth. It's important, it's vital. These components, your spine, your nervous system, your nutrition, remove toxicity, make sure you're mentally and spiritually sound and healthy. Remove those stressors. Do those things, and I believe we have the opportunity to see people reach their God-given health potential, and that's the mission that I'm about. So, folks, I appreciate you watching this video. Please share the truth. Don't just like it, because it's the only way we save lives. Hey, everybody, I'm the Wild Doc, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you hop on over to thewilddoc.com. Subscribe there for our newsletter and email campaign. Join in the conversation on Facebook, and let's transform the world by unleashing the power of natural healing.